It's devotion time from St. Paul Lutheran Church in Westlake, Ohio. I'm retired Pastor David Buegler, and we're working our way through the Gospels at this time here at St. Paul's, and we are in Mark. As a matter of fact, today we are reading Mark chapters 13 and 14. Two really different lessons. In chapter 13, Jesus teaches his disciples about the end times. They have a lot of questions about what it's going to be like at the end of the world. We have a lot of those questions too. And this is a wonderful chapter where Jesus teaches and prepares his disciples for the end of his ministry and for the kind of ministry that they will have in this world that's gone terribly wrong. He gives them warnings against false teachers and wars and rumors of wars and hatred among, different people, and above all, Satan's power and his grasp on sinful culture. Good warning for us today, don't you think? Yeah. I hope that we are living in the end times. I hope that the mess that's in this world today is a good lesson to Christians. That these are like the beginning of labor pains, That's what Jesus says. That when you see these things, it's not necessarily that the world's going to end, but these are the beginnings of the birth pangs, These are like a woman who is going into birth and has those first contractions that are really signs to her that something's going to happen. Yeah, we should look at the world that way today. But I'm not going to talk mainly about chapter 13. I want to talk about chapter 14, a very familiar chapter about the giving of the Lord's Supper in the upper room on Maundy Thursday, the celebrating of the Passover Jesus had with his disciples. And particularly verse 51 of chapter 14. Let me read it. A young man wearing nothing but a linen garment was following Jesus, and when the soldiers seized Jesus, the young man fled naked, leaving his garment behind. Yeah, you'll only read that little detail about the Garden of Gethsemane in the Gospel of Mark. And it has led commentators through the years to suggest that maybe that young man, a teenager, was Mark. And that it was in his father and mother's upper room that Jesus had celebrated the Lord's Supper. And that as a young man, he might have been helping with the supper, and when the disciples left to sing the Hallel Psalms and make their way to the Mount of Olives, to the Garden of Gethsemane, maybe he snuck out of the house and followed along behind. Later on, of course, he became a follower of Jesus. He became a missionary with Paul and Silas and Barnabas and all the others. And as for the Christians in Jerusalem, after the ascension, they continued to meet at Mark's house, at his mother and father's house. So there's an interesting twist there that includes Mark, the writer of our gospel. Well, what about this incident? Well, Jesus comes and is arrested, and you have Peter chopping off the ear of one of the temple guards, and Jesus healing him, and you have the betrayal by Judas. You have all the things that Jesus had predicted. And you also had some things in the institution of the Lord's Supper that are only found in Mark. Mark might have been an eyewitness to those things. And then he followed along. And when they seized Jesus, the temple guards, to take him to Caiaphas' palace, all the disciples ran. They were scared too, huh? And Mark ran too. And he ran naked. He maybe only had a nightshirt on. He should have been in bed. And it maybe got stuck on a tree or whatever. But at any rate, why would this verse be included in the Gospels of our Lord Jesus Christ? I think it's a delightfully personal touch. And I think the devotional thought for us for today is, just as Mark fled, if that was indeed Mark, and all the other disciples fled, we have to be careful about that too. But if we do flee, we have to understand that we flee naked. We're on our own then. If we try to run away from Jesus, we are left naked, like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden after they sinned. We have nothing to cover up our guilt and our shame, our sin, right? The old hymn, Rock of Ages, said, "Nothing in my hand I bring, naked come to thee for dress." Huh? Or the other great old song that says, "Jesus, thy blood and righteousness, thy beauty are my glorious dress, wherein before my God I'll stand, when I shall reach the heavenly land." It's only Jesus' blood, sacrifice for my sins, forgiveness, and his righteousness, his perfect life, that is my clothing, your clothing, when we reach paradise. God bless you.